You're listening to Overwatch Contenders Daily, your path to daily news, scores, and insights into the Overwatch League stars of tomorrow. Here's your host, LemonKiwi.
Fans, hope you're having a wonderful Monday wherever you might be in the world. My name is LemonKiwi and this is Overwatch Contenders Daily, where today's guest is going to be a great one. His name is Alan Gai. If you watch the Overwatch League stream in Chinese, you might recognize him because he's a caster, he's an analyst, and he's an expert in the Chinese region scene. So of course I got to bring him on to talk about the grand finals for the Chinese contenders that happened. Of course, if you were too busy with NA and EU and Korean grand finals going on, that also happened. So he's going to come on and talk about that. But first, let's get into the news of, oh my god, all the playoffs going on this past weekend. So grand finals for Korean contenders happened on Friday night, where X6 Gaming 4-0'd or 0-2 Ardent. For the European semifinals and finals, the final results where British Hurricane overtook CIS Hope, then Team Giganti won over Angry Titans, and then they met up in the grand finals where Hurricane won in Game 7 over Team Giganti. So what an incredible series. For North America now, semifinals and finals, Toronto won over Envision, Fusion University won over Optic Academy, and then when they met up in the grand finals, Fusion University took the crown over Toronto. Now the winners of North America and Europe went head-to-head, so Fusion University versus Hurricane for the Atlantic Showdown, where EU proved they were better than NA, so sad face. But that's it for the news. Let's get into my interview with Alan Gai. So I'm here with Alan Gai, Overwatch League caster and analyst. If you've been watching the Chinese stream, unfortunately I don't know Chinese, but you guys have probably heard of Alan if you're from the Chinese community. But how's it going, Alan?
Well, it's a really exciting weekend for me. You know, every contenders has going to multiple regions of contenders has going to the grand finals and semifinals in this weekend, and it's really a great pleasure to watch these teams.
It was a busy weekend, and in case you guys you guys at home missed it, you guys maybe be busy with Poland, North American or European matches. Yeah. The Chinese region contenders had their grand finals earlier before, and it actually probably coincided with the European stuff going on, so you might have caught it off stream. But Lucky Future Zenith and LGD Gaming went in a head-to-head best of 7 and went all the way to Game 7, where Lucky Future came out on top. And I recommend everyone to check out the VOD that I put in the description in case you missed at least half of it or the whole thing. It was honestly an insane match. But I'm here with Alan. We're going to talk about the grand final. But before we get into this, let's start at the very beginning, because I don't know a lot about the Chinese scene. Maybe some viewers don't as well. How did this grand final come to be? Because Lucky Future, Zenith, there's another Lucky Future, so I might have to say it the whole name, but Lucky Future was undefeated in Group A with an astonishing 16-3 map count, whilst LGD on the other side, so they're in Group B, were also undefeated, but only dropped a single map, so 19-1, and that's even crazier. But it's no surprise, it's really no surprise for probably the whole community that these two ended up in the grand final. But could you tell us about these two rosters and what we should know about them?
Well, they are very different but similar teams, let's say that. So first, let's go for the LFC. As you see, that LF actually have two teams. The first one is the old LF teams, which is just Lucky Future. It is a whole Chinese roster, and it's have a long history, not a short history in the Chinese competitive scene of Overwatch. And it also have a famous player, which is 177. As you know, it's a female player, and it's both famous for its techniques, its skills, and also for his beauty, of course. So that is Lucky Future, the Chinese branch. And there is another branch which has started recently. That is what we have been seeing in this grand final. It is Lucky Future Zenith, which is short for LFC. And actually, just when it is announced that LFC will enter and what the roster is, you know, it is something that it is some players from the former Alliant, which has really ruling over the Pacific region, and it has some support players from Runaway and a lot of experience in the Apex scene and in the Korean scene. So generally speaking, when that roster come out, most people will expect, yes, that is the team that will ruling Chinese scene, just like they rule the Pacific region. So that is the thing that both make the Chinese viewers, exciting, but also fearful. Because frankly speaking, no Chinese viewers would like to see their own country, their own regions will be ruled by all Korean roster, even though that LF Zenith have some Chinese players in it, which is Carry, former IBA's Cai Dao in Chinese pro scene, but it is now in the LF Zenith roster. So that is LFC, which is a highly expected team when it's coming to the Chinese pro scene. So there is really no question that this team will come to the finals. The only question is who to face them. So the LGD come up, and the LGD is a very famous team back into the 2016 even, because when the LGD played some games in APAC, and also some other players going to the World Cup or WWC.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of players like Shy, which we all know that back then he's still a support player. So generally speaking, this time this LGD is part of the old roster, which is something like Gu Xue, the main tank of it, and also the Shy, which has turned into DPS, a very highlight DPS of it, and also have some new players like Rika, like other players, and new support players. So this LGD have something different from the former one. The former one like Undead, mm-hmm. which has not a very good fame, I believe, in the outside in the OWL. So he come back into the Chinese scene and going to the Overwatch Contenders actually on that, but he's into another team which is called LGE. I didn't come back into LGD. So LGD has become a different team, but I think this time LGD is a team which is better at diving than before. So that is also why the performance great in the grand finals.
Both teams, probably have a tremendous history, and actually kind of interesting to hear about Undead, at least on his LGE side. But both these teams coming up with new players and obviously working with the core, but getting into the actual series, Map 1 really set a pace of how back and forth this series really was going to be. Oasis Map 1, where at first point, Lucky Future won 100-0, and I was like, mm-hmm. oh god, this is going to be a 4-0, this is going to be bad. Mm-hmm. But then LGD then brought out a Sombra on the second point of Oasis on City Center, and then they won 100-99, so you're like, okay, Map 3, I see, this is going to be good. And in Gardens, both teams brought out a Sombra, and then LGD won this Map 3, and kind of almost reverse swept in a way to win Map 1, so what did LGD change throughout Oasis to be able to overtake Lucky Future?
Well, I think the first map is the time that LGD is poking its opponents and to test the performance of its contenders. So, but when I think the turning point is on the second map. On the second map, the LF Zenith took into a shotgun and a long gun, the composition, which is McCree and plus maybe a Sombra or maybe a Tracer. But this, Earthster is really a great player. It has incredible shots, incredible aiming. But at this time, the great diving of LJD has surprised him. And even though Earthster have some highlights, you have some maybe multiple kills or 3K or 5K, but it is not enough to consistently take control of the map 2. So when they load map 2, the map 3 is become a very dicing situation, because generally speaking, control map is really a place where anything could happen. And when the two teams have a mirror roster, a mirror composition, they both have to Tracer and Sombra composition. So it is become a messy one. And at this time, LGD becomes a team which is far more aggressive than its opponents. It has chosen to pay more attention to their to the backline of LF Zenith. So LF Zenith are kind of caught in the middle. So that is what I think that LGD has changed. It has changed its tactics more aggressive and more accurate to the backline.
And you were telling me before the interview that a lot of Chinese fans thought Lucky Future were obviously going to win the grand finals. So when LGD won map 1, it must have been like, okay, they're here to party.
That is actually because you know that it has been a long time since that there is a great show, a great LAN show. Which is offline, not online, in Chinese. Because the last time I remember it is APEC 2017. It's a long time ago.
Wow.
So the people, the crowd, they are all very excited when the map 1 is belong to LGD.
Yeah, they had the crowd microphones during the game, so you could hear everybody screaming at every play. And Zerster, I think you mentioned him. He was having highlight reel after highlight reel. But you mentioned map 2, Numbani, right? And Lucky Future were on offense first, and they didn't actually finish point C, so it seemed like another situation where LGD could win. They went into point C with 5.5 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, they have a huge time bank. This should be easy.
That's right.
But then Lucky Future held the defense and then evened up the series 1-1. So how did Lucky Future turn things around on Numbani?
You know, that is a question that many people will have, and including me. And so today I do a little review and about that part, about the Numbani part, and the matter of Numbani and the matter of Hollywood. But speaking of Numbani, it is very important that when the LF Zenith that realize they have a very bad situation, the time is not on their side. It has 5 minutes. They need to consume it and to make sure that the payload is not reach the golden point. I think the one thing that Zenith is using in this specific time is that their experience, their patience. They look really careful about their treasures in their odds. So they manage it very clearly and very careful. Sometimes they may even something like a little bit greedy. So, but on the contrary, when 5 minutes before, when the second point is captured, you know, LGD has really. I think LGD is relieved. They think I have 5 minutes. I must have conquered this map. It's okay. I just need maybe two win or maybe only one win. Actually, it is one win that they need to get in the final point. But they didn't have the experiments that the RF Zenith had. I think that is the point. They are a little bit harsh at this point, and they lose a big call that when they have 6 odds, they win Jin. That is something that I think you will see, and if you missed it, you will really need to see that they have 6 odds. Everyone's odds in, and they put the first 2 support odds in, but then the defenders of Zenith are really good at dragging and wasting their opponent's odds and then counterpart it. So I think the reason that this at this point, I mean, actually it is the experiment that is working. The experiments of LF Zenith and the patient is working. So LGD has really paid a lot of money for its young and for its inexperience. Yes.
So the series was a nail biter. I mean, maps traded back and forth. I mean, to summarize, because the interview can't be that super long, LGD won Hanamura, and then Lucky Future won Dorado, and then because LGD C9, and then the series is tied 2-2. LGD went on Ilios, and that was super close because it was 100-99 on both points. Then Lucky Future won Hollywood with an incredible defensive hold, and I wish we could go through each map, but it would just be so long. But let's focus on Game 7, the one that matters, the one that decided the winner being Lucky Future. The final one, Junkertown. Both teams finished the map, but Lucky Future finished with just so much more time on their offense, which when they went into their second offense, Lucky Future just obviously won due to having so much more time to get further. But in your opinion, why did LGD fall short on Junkertown?
Well, I think there is an obvious reason that most people, most viewers in China realize that, LGD is a great team, and Shy is a great guy, is a great talent player, and young. Yeah, of course, he's great at. Nowadays, he's great at DPS players. Of course, it is hit scan players, something like Tracer. He's a great Tracer, and he's a great McCree player, but he's not as great as a Widowmaker. Especially when when he has opponents like DM in the across the long range, so he has few great strings, great suppression from DM, and also so DM not only suppress him but also suppress his teammates. So I think that is the reason that the AF Zenith attack first. So LGD was caught up in the middle, and they don't know how to, just to get in the close range of DM and to kill him and to solve this problem. So it was all went down, their defense crippled, and it is left a great time bank for LF Zenith. And when the time bank, when they got 3 points, the time bank is settled. Most viewers have realized, it is maybe over that for LGD, because the time bank is so rich that it is almost impossible for LGD to do a reverse, even though that LGD has also completed their attack barely, but it is not enough time for them to reverse the map. So I think the most important reason that LGD may need a better Widowmaker in their roster, that they need to maybe sub in when they're going into a map like Junkertown or other maps that nowadays that most escort maps that need great snipers, because of OWL has shown us.
Yeah, I mean, snipers are so important on Junkertown, and both these teams have seemed so close in their skill set until Junkertown happened, but LGD did, really well on their offense. I apologize. Yeah. With the 1 minute that they had, they got just past point A. But then Lucky Future, they made it look easy. They just scrolled through that in no time. But that was just a great grand final. But Contenders is all about showcasing these players to eventually get picked up by the Overwatch League, or even maybe any better rosters that they might find themselves on. And maybe sometimes they're too young to be in the Overwatch League. But in your opinion, who are some players from these two teams or any team in the Chinese scene that people should watch out for that maybe we could see in the Overwatch League?
Well, there's actually many players that in this grand finals that people should keep an eye for their maybe the headhunters from Overwatch League. as far as I can see, that some names like Shy, which is very familiar by the other countries, by our international friends, because Shy has already shown his talents as a support player before, and nowadays he has shown his flexibility as a DPS player, and he may be one of the best Tracer and McCree player in Chinese scene. So he's the one that the foreign teams or maybe Shanghai Dragons need to keep an eye on, even though he may still need some time to grow up into 18 years old. So Shy is an old name, I would like to say. And there's another name that is very important, and it is in the tank position. It is Guxue, which is a very strong tank. He has great Winston players, and he may be overwhelmingly suppressed Sowat in this grand finals. People can see that in the performance of Sowat. Sowat is somewhat feel uncomfortable when he's fielding such an aggressive Winston, which is performed by Guxue. So Guxue is a very experienced LGD player, has been in this team for a long time, and he has been going through different types, whether it is the former types of LGD's playstyles, or it is nowadays the new types, the more aggressive LGD players. But I think there is one thing that Guxue need to pay attention to about his playstyle, because nowadays LGD, the whole team is a very aggressive team. Like I said, they like diving really deep, really hard, and really quick. But there's one thing that Guxue need to focus on, that is you need to keep yourself alive, and then you can give more contribution to this team. So when you are facing up a team like LF Zenith that is so experienced and so they are very improvising during the match. So the reason that LGD finally, in the end, lost the whole match is because that LF Zen is improvising during this game, and they made a strategy to set up a trap for the aggressive part of LGD, like Gucci. So Gucci may be an aggressive tank, but I think, so what is nearly having a chance in Overwatch League as the leak, if the leak is true. So I think if it is true, Gucci's performance should earn him a spot at least an opportunity to try out for the Overwatch League. So that is Gucci. And speaking of other players, I think there is another player which not going to the grand finals from Chinese player, which should be pay special attention for, which is Crystal from T1W. He maybe is the one of the best Widowmaker, or maybe not one, but he is the best Widowmaker in Chinese scene.
Oh, wow.
So the reason that LFZ lost one map to T1W during the semifinals is because the Crystal, which is for short for KK, we actually gave him a nickname, Double K. His performance make DM feel short, and DM is a lot of pressure on his shoulder when he's facing up such a unfamiliar but also sharpshooter. So I think Crystal is a great shooter as a Widowmaker, but Crystal has a problem as a flexibility. I mean, he may be not as sharp as his Tracer. He may be not as sharp in his Tracer as his Widowmaker, and he maybe need to expand his hero pools or something like that. But Crystal is actually maybe one of the future a sharpshooter, a future hit scan talents in Overwatch League. So that is only the three players I think that is on the top of other players that need to be focused. But there are also many players that I think just too many players in Chinese scene that need to be focused on. Yeah, the Overwatch League contender, the Overwatch contender season 1 during the spring or summer, this has really ignited the warming, the temperature of Chinese pro scene, and also the fans. They have seen the hope of the hope stars, many rising stars of Chinese pro scene. So I think that maybe there are some more Chinese players that may become the top stars in Overwatch League in the future.
That would be exciting. I know Shanghai Dragons need to still shop around and losing a few players and picking up some new ones, but you obviously highlighted a bunch. And so what? I remember that Dallas Fuel League, but then it didn't happen, but it might happen. So who knows? But that will be the end of the interview. Thank you so much, Alan, for coming on.